All right, good morning, everyone. I was asked all the gentlemen that are on the call if I could record this, and they all agreed. Because I wanted to be able to share the video a little bit with some people and kind of dig in a little bit. This is my once a month central time zone. I call it my platinum club, not like a strip club, Craig, just platinum club. And it's and it's just a group of guys that are all over $300,000. And we just kind of talk once a month about what's going on in the industry, what's happening. And I thought this would be kind of a time or a chance for me to ask these guys a little bit of a few questions I could share with some of the other people. So, you know, Scott, I'll start with you because you're my upper left-hand corner. I guess how long have you been doing it?
All total about 23 years.
So 23 years. And by the way, Scott is from Knox. So we'll give a little shout out to him there. So we know, because most of you don't have your companies in your name, but Knox. So 23 years. So you've got a ton of experience, but what else do you think, Scott, makes you one of the big boys there? It's got to be more than just been there for 23 years.
No, I mean, it kind of get a feel for what your customer needs. But I went from, being $150,000 a year salesman to where I am now. I really quit leaving open-ended questions. I closed from the word go. When the customer told me what they needed, the last thing out of my mouth is, I can have it to you X day. That really propelled
you were
me.
Solving their problems.
Right. That really propelled me into what I thought was the next level. Instead of waiting for an answer from the customer, how do you like that? Does it work for you? I was already gone saying, hey, I've got this engine. It's on the shelf. I can have it to you tomorrow. It's $3,500.
What made you change?
Basically, the volume of phone calls I was getting. I had to get off the phone faster to not miss phone calls.
Okay.
And the faster I got off the phone, the more I sold. In my experience.
But I would have to assume that you were able to do some of that because you had some relationships with a lot of customers that were calling you. So there wasn't a lot of who are you, where are you, that kind of stuff anymore. You had built your base and you were able to get right to the point with your base.
That's true. And even the customers that I was referred to, by my base customers, the new customers, although I did spend a little bit extra time with them, I got into that same mode faster with the new customers. Obviously, if you've got a customer that you just first time talking to, you want to expand that a little bit so that you get a feel of what they do and how they do it. But at the same time, I would if I got into a conversation where there were open-ended questions, the call wouldn't go anywhere. Well, let me think about it. Well, this and that and the other. Or, I always wait for them. I try to close it and then wait for them to say, well, I've got to talk to my customer. Fine, I'll call you back tomorrow, or I'll call you back this afternoon.
Well, you accepted that, right? You accepted the quote and you stopped accepting the quote.
Exactly.
Would be a simple, quicker way to say it, right?
Correct.
Where I like some open-ended questions, right? But I want solutions to the end of it, more like an example would be, right? And I want to clarify this because then my guys are going to be like, but you tell me to ask open-ended questions. More like, well, I want one with low miles, Scott. Well, what's low miles? Right? That kind of question. I want a cheap one. You'll just tell me what's cheap then. I like what you're saying is more of, Craig, I talk about this. Let's get right to the point. Right? We don't need all the other stuff, but we can do that in a polite business-like relationship way. It's not rude. It's just, hey, what do you need?
Exactly.
I love how you recognized it though. A lot of people find it hard to change, Scott, right? They get to that point and they're just comfortable. And
Right.
that's what I'm hoping this video will kind of do is maybe for some people in your organization that can see, well, how did he do it? Well, he was like me and here's how he changed it. And old dogs are hard to change, right? It's hard to teach them new tricks, Craig. Right? So our next guy I want to ask the same question to is Windows. You got to unmute. So tell us who you are and where you're from so everybody knows.
Windows. I didn't even know that. Didn't even realize that. Steve Crosswhite, Knox Auto Parts. Been doing this sales deal for about 6 years now. Was originally as a driver for Knox for about 10 years. In Knoxville, East Tennessee, and Middle Tennessee.
So that's an odd transit. 10 years you were a driver, and then you were able to come in. And then, so I guess I'm going to ask you kind of the same question Scott did, but I want to add one. How much of being a driver helped you when you came inside?
Enormous. It was, it's like, it's night and day. Scott's 23 years is if you're not driving and don't know the people, then, that's great. But also you know so many people. Like for me, like I said, I drove 5 years in Knoxville, so I done every route in East Tennessee, and then I came over here to Nashville and done I was the only driver here at the start for Middle Tennessee, so I knew every stop too. So for me, it was like, just jump right in. All you have to do is say your name and who you are.
And they were like, Steve, it's you.
Yeah, there you go. So
right.
It was, I guess I cheated. I cheated a little bit,
but again, you could have been delivering Scott's parts, but you were the face, Steve.
Yeah.
You were a face, and he was just as much a voice, Steve. I mean, Scott, for your parts, being there because they were asking you questions. And I think that's very interesting that way.
Absolutely.
Plus you have a good personality and a charming personality and a great voice and all those things. People know you, right?
Sure.
Right? I'm blessed with an interesting voice, not charming, more of like, truck driver smoking cigarettes voice, but it's still recognizable. So if it wasn't just your name, it was still your voice sometimes. Is that you? Do I know you from, I get that. Do I know you from somewhere? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Still to this day, if I see, people or something, I recognize that voice.
I talked to a guy last week or the week before in East Tennessee. He hadn't called in a long time or whatever, but he had never called me, but he knew my voice from when I was driving in East Tennessee. And I was like, I had no idea who he was, but he was like, yeah, I know you. I used to drive you, right? And I was like, I guess you do know me, but I had no idea who he was. Right. Yeah, that's it's definitely a plus.
So I'm assuming that once you got inside, so you knew the parts, you knew the conditions, you knew what to expect from the damage, the asking for damage, you knew about parts not showing up, you knew about returns and you knew all that. Sure. So I'd say it was kind of and not that I think every driver could do that, but you must have, so it was just learning the jukebox, right? Yeah. Learning how to use that a little bit and go.
Sure.
But still, even then, you didn't know brokering, right? You understood what they did, but you didn't know it. You still had to know who to broker from, how to mark it up, how to do the promising, how to sell the warranties and those things. So some of that, was that end a slower process, or did you just kind of pick it up? Were you in that?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely had to get comfortable in your own skin. And what I was blessed with, of course, is that I knew the people. So it's like talking to your brother, your sister, or whoever. It really was. And so that's what I try to capture with everybody, is try to, just treat them like I know you already. And that's what I caught from being a driver. But yeah, the brokering, just the ins and outs, and trying to get something developed and build a base. That base somewhat was already there almost instantly, but nobody's going to stay with you, unless you can deliver too, so The broken part of it was, but I just never thought of it as something that I couldn't do.
I got chills when you just said, like talking to a brother or sister or a friend. Because Craig, you know how much I preach. And I keep saying Craig because Craig and I have worked together for a long time. So, Craig's heard me for an hour a week for a year. And, I talk about that tone and that relationship stuff all the time, where it just needs to be a simple conversation, like it is a friend or a brother or a sister. And to hear you say that, and again, I love the two completely kind of different scenarios between you two working for the same company, but having the same result. Right. So how about you, Pat? Right. You're from where you're from and how long you've been there. And kind of tell me your saga. How did you get to where you are?
I'm Pat from United Auto Sectors in Omaha. I've been in the business for 32 years. I've been here for United for about 11. I started off at a car dealership, talking to a salvage yard on used parts all the time. They pissed me off one day. I called him up and said, "Was that offer for a job serious?" He said, "Come down." I said, came down that night, took the job that night, started 2 weeks later. And
Was that a shock? Were you shocked when you first got on this side?
The biggest shock was my wife. My wife's dad sold used cars. So when I told her that I was quitting the dealership life and going to work in a salvage yard, she said, "A
She didn't
junkyard?
say salvage. Yeah, she said junkyard.
Are you
Right.
effing kidding me? What are we
Yeah.
going to do?"
Lots of faith.
Oh, yeah.
But we've all dealt with that our whole lives. Every family picnic or little league team party, when some dads, "Hey, what do you do?" Right? We've all dealt with that. Nobody understanding, nobody getting it. And to me, it's just, I laugh about it sometimes but so your wife tells you you're nuts.
Mhm.
And then what?
And then she said, "How much money are you going to make?" And I said, "I have no idea." I told him how much I made at the dealership. I said, "It has to be at least that." And now things are a whole lot better than they ever would have been in a dealership.
Did she ever say, "Hey, I wanted to apologize and tell you what a great move it was going to the junkyard"?
Oh, she doesn't apologize. She's a typical woman.
I had a really funny story from one of the guys who said, "I've always had to explain myself. Why do you work at the junkyard? Why would you go there?" That kind of stuff. He goes, "I went to the bank and I was buying a new house. And for the first time, I got to laugh and explain it the way I want. When the woman at the bank said, 'You make that much working at the junkyard?' And he got to finally say, 'Yes, I do.' And it was more than she made sitting behind the desk at the bank." But I thought that was kind of funny. So you got in it, Pat. So apparently you were successful, right? So what was your drive? What made you successful? Were you successful right away? Did it take a while?
The place I was at was relatively small, and then we had one salesman. I was the second. And within 9 months to a year, we had tripled sales, partly because the owner was a good buyer, but got to know a lot of people and just learned to, first thing, never say no. Without a legit excuse, there's nothing I can't find, or at least give it my best to try to find it. And follow up, and just, when there's a problem, take care of it. Whether it be a
Pretty simple.
credit or whatever, just get it done right away, make the customer happy. There's nothing worse than a customer calling you back 2, 3, 4 times going, "Where's the credit? Where's the credit?"
Why didn't you pick up the core? Why didn't you come get the return? Where's my labor check for the warranty? Well, I had a mentor of mine. I always throw it out there when I do it because, he's not with us anymore. His name was Mike Colston from Downtown Automotive Mall. And when they were the first ones I ever knew that gave a 1-year part and labor warranty on the motors for free, right? They just marked everything up $200 and included the warranty for free. But he told me, when we bring the replacement engine, we bring them the labor check. And he said, you know why? One, it makes them happy. Two is they call up and say the motor's bad. And he goes, okay. And at that time, it was still okay. It was 10 hours to put the motor in, right? And he goes, yep. And he goes, we pay you $50 an hour. I'll bring you your check for 500. And they were so happy. But then he never had to deal with what about the fluids? What about the gaskets? Oh, I don't want to cover all that kind of stuff. He brought the check with the replacement. And this was 20 years, 25 years ago. And I thought, how brilliant to get out of it that way. But again, it was taking care of the customer, Pat. It was just, this is the way you do it. And this is how you build it. And it's built and it's built and it's built and it's built. And I would have to imagine for most of you that there's not a ton of I'm in the queue taking calls, right? It's got to be mostly direct line and private line and emails and that sort of stuff at this rate. So thank you. How about you, Craig? What's your story and who are you?
Craig Rentz, Mullins Auto Parts. Kind of the same story as Pat. I actually worked here right out of college for about 3 years, did sales, decided to test the water somewhere else, went to Napa for 3 years, and I wrote service for 8 years, which I learned a lot. Writing service probably helps a little bit in the sales.
Explain that to me.
I can always revert back to it if the guy's, upset that the motor's bad or he's having a bad day. I wrote service, man. I've been in your shoes. I get it. I'm here to try to help you with the situation, get you through it without all the pain and agony and blah, blah, blah. So I feel like that helps. But same deal as Pat. I called Brent one day, having a crummy day writing service, said, hey man, worked for you before. If you ever have a job opening, blah, blah, blah. About 6 months went by, he called me, says, hey, call me tonight when you get off work. And about 3 minutes in the conversation, I was hired, and that's where that went from. So that was about 12 years ago. So I got about 15 years experience.
Okay.
Same story, so much better off than I would have been staying there by far. Money wise and every way,
So tell me your story. You came back and how did it go? Was it right out of the gate? You were awesome, or how did it go? Maybe you were awesome in your own mind.
Always. Yeah. I mean, I had a little experience, it was still the same computer system. It came back rather quickly. So I didn't have a lot of hurdles with learning the jukebox, as you said.
Mhm.
But I think I actually about 3 months in started being the top salesman, if you will. I don't know what the competition level was, so I'm not tooting my own horn. I just think that it was easy to become that. But
Right.
and not a pitch for Rob, but wow, have things changed when we butted heads pretty hard early on, but learned a lot, and it's helped me. I went from a decent month of the 120,000, 130,000 to the ability to do over 300,000. So appreciate that, Rob. Just little plug for you, but it's true. I mean,
I
it does help.
appreciate the
Yeah.
plug. It does
Yeah.
help, but thank you. And I'll take a little credit. But like I tell most of them, I'm just a baseball coach, right? You guys playing the game. And I don't do much coaching with you guys. It's not like we get on these and I'm like, well, Steve, I got to wait for you to. It's not what we do here. The calls that we get on with you guys is you guys talk as much as me. And I kind of fill you in on industry and what's happening out there and those kind of things and talk about, supply chain issues and just want to hear. And I talked about that like on, some of those salvage forums and the chat rooms or the Skype rooms that they have seem to be a lot of complaining going on in some of those sometimes. I'd like to see more good in some of the sales ones like, hey, everybody, the CRV gates are on back order till October. FYI, right? Some of that shared information that could go out that, or, hey, someone told me this and I don't know how true this is, right? And today is, the 13th of May, but someone told me that on June 1st, the production line is shutting down for F-250s and F-350s. And they don't know when it's going to come back on. Right. So that trickles right down to what are the costs of the used trucks? What happens when the used truck breaks and there's no trade in to go get? And there's no remanufactured part to get. What does that mean for you guys? Right. prices go up and continue to go. So again, Craig, thank you for the plug,
Yep.
but a lot of it was on you. And yes, we butted heads a little bit, right? Pat and I've butted heads a little bit, right? But again, I'm just coming at things with a different side and a different theory. Never 100% right, maybe 99, Craig. But I'm just kidding. But it's just a different theory, different times, different way. But I talked a little bit. Steve brought it up, and I can't say that I've listened to a lot of the other gentlemen's calls on here, a few of Pat's, but I'll say, Craig, I'll plug you back. Is say Craig is one of the most consistent people I've ever listened to, meaning his calls are always the same tone and the same experience and the same friendly relationship that Steve talks about. Now, your coworkers tell me that's not how you are when you hang the phone up, though, Craig.
I don't know about all that. I mean,
They-
whatever.
But I will say though, is that that's kind of what I've liked about that, is that Craig's very consistent. So Travis, tell us your story and where you're from too, please.
I'm Travis. I'm from Automotive Parts Solutions. I've been here 23 years now as well. Started in high school, working full time in like a work release program. Sold repairables for 5 years. We used to sell a ton of repairables, so I was dabbling in parts, through repairable customers. We decided to, kind of switch up, get rid of the repairables in, gosh, that had to have been in 05 or somewhere around there. Switched to parts full time. Never thought when I was selling repairables that I'd be selling parts, but I guess it worked out.
And how did it go? I mean, were you good at it right away? What happened? How have you gone through the years?
I was fairly good for the first couple years, and then, we had, gone through some changes here, and, we've had, some, other teachers and, people like you, Rob, that have come through over the years. And, I guess over time, you gain a good base, and, you get good at what you do. I believe that, most of my success is by execution. I think that really lies to my success, just because, if you can give them accurate time frames, you can get them accurate, parts, make sure they get the right part, people are going to keep coming back. So, I think that's the key to my success, is just execution.
And when you say that, I want to dive a little more, because it's something that I talk about when I can't. Well, it might be Thursday or Friday. So you don't do that. You say it's Friday or it's Thursday, or when do you need it? You need it Friday. It'll be there Friday. So I'm a big just, how long is it going to take to get it? When do you need it? Right? Thursday. I can't do Thursday. Can you live with Friday? Boom. No lies, no BS type of stuff. Here's the story and sticking to it. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I won't even get into timeframes unless customer asks. If
Okay.
they're not concerned, I'm not concerned.
Right.
Right. So that being, when do you need it? Or you just don't even do it. Okay.
I don't bring
And
it up either if it's not. They
So
don't ask them to bring it up.
I'll just spin into this, because this is where I was going to loop next, would be if I spin into, so you're qualifying, you say the right part, right? So you're qualifying miles or condition, that kind of stuff. Do you
Mhm.
qualify warranty at the beginning or the end of the call?
I'd say more so in the middle of my calls. I loop it into, even before I quote the part.
Okay. Can you give me an example? Like,
You
I'm
know,
looking for a transmission for a 10 Ford F-150.
yeah,
And
what ki-
I've already determined, hey, I want something with 85,000 miles ish.
what
and
kind
then
of
where do
warranty
you-
you
how do you
looking
go?
for?
So do you ask me, or do you say, well, here at APS, all of our parts come with a standard blank,
No.
but we do this, you go right into what would you like?
What
And
are you
then I
looking for?
say, I don't know. I didn't even know parts came with a warranty. What do you offer? Then what do you say?
Then we tell them we offer, a standard, 90-day if you want something bare bones. We offer 1 year, 3 year, part only,
Okay.
part and labor.
Customizable.
Yep.
Okay.
What are you looking for? If they can't give me an answer, I'll give them, 2, 3 options and let them make a decision.
If it's retail, which probably a ton of you don't get a ton of retail, Craig, you do, right? But you still in the loop and handle a lot of loop calls. Do you try to qualify, like, to help them? I know Craig does. That's why I'm asking, Travis. Do you, like, what are you doing with the car? You keeping it? You trading it? Which do you help them, or do you just offer and let them choose?
Try to
50-50.
guide them,
Yeah, depending on how the call's going.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
What
if
about
it's
you?
if it's the
Go
guy
ahead.
that just wants the cheapest part, wants to get off the phone, well, you're gonna give him what he wants.
Absolutely. And get him off the phone for you so you can go take another call.
Yep.
Do you know how many calls you handle a day, Travis? You?
200 plus.
Okay. Craig, how about you? How many calls?
And I am not getting that kind of volume. I wish I was. I don't know, 100, 125 maybe.
How
But
many of
I-
your
I-
200, Travis, are directly to you?
60, 70%, I would think.
Okay. Sorry for the dog barking in the background. Pat, do you know how many calls you get?
225 to 250.
And mostly directed at you
All
from your customers?
they're all direct line.
All direct line calls. Steve, what about you?
I have no idea. I would say in the 150-ish range, something like that. Mostly direct line stuff.
Well, hopefully you'll be getting a new phone system that'll be everything, and you can get a little of that data, because I think some of that data is
Yeah.
good to know. I'd like to
Yeah,
watch my
I
volume.
can see it. I just don't ever look at it.
I just like kind of would know. I would like to kind of know consistently this month I average a blank a day, and then kind of see how the months go and see where the volume's going. So Scott, is your answer the same as Steve's?
Yeah, mine's right at about 200, but mine's all direct line.
Yep.
I don't have time to get on the phone and deal
So,
with retail folks.
so now that technology is changing, right, for you guys that are all these direct line calls, are you leaning people at email or text messaging, or what are you trying to do to use other alternative electronic software to take less calls from them and do more in front of you to take more calls from someone else? Are you doing that, Scott?
Well, it depends on the customer. I've got some that I've successfully moved to email or text message, and that works out very well for them.
And does it work out well for you?
Yeah, it works out very well for me. Much rather have it that way than them having to call in and wait on the phone or put them on hold. The big thing down here in Birmingham, everybody's so used to calling LKQ and waiting on hold for 30 minutes that if you can answer them quickly, they won't even call LKQ the next time.
Right. So that's where Skype might be another thing that would be very easy for customers to get. Have any of you thought of adding that message to your voicemail? As a reminder, I'm also available through text, email, Skype, and blah, 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 blah. Put it in your voicemail as a reminder to some of them that may ask you, hey, Scott, you said something about text messaging in there. I know there's some old school guys that are always going to want to call. Well, I like how he used the word successfully converted some of them. And to me, if I was one of you guys handling 250, 300 calls a day, I would be trying to successfully get them to something else. Now, also available, and I won't go details on it, but I know depending on what phone systems you have, and you can text message to phone systems, you can also go out and get your own like Google phone number and have a Google thing that has text availability in that, and it's another window and a whole different thing for you that you could just promote that.
I have Google Voice. It's a big part of my stuff.
Really, that's
Huge part.
awesome.
Because
Huge.
the best part about that is, don't get me wrong, the text messages are fine. But the best part about it is when they send me pictures of what they need. You know, if they need something off the wall, a seat, you know, not that I sell a lot of them, but you know, if it's
Right.
something, here's what I need. Or a radio with a serial number on it. Or a brain box with a serial number on it. They just shoot me the picture. I'll look it up. Here it is. I got it. Send it back.
Even I don't know what size engine it is. Hey, go out, take a picture of the VIN, text me the VIN, or send me the VIN, and I'll call you back when I'm ready.
Right.
Right? Any of that stuff. So all those little things to free up that time is tremendous. I really love, you know, and I won't say what to come out here to promote products, but being able to text the credit card link to someone and letting them do the credit card, you just getting the, hey, it's done, it's paid for. To me, what a time saver. I've seen so many screwed up things at so many yards, how hard it is to take a credit card payment. But all those little things, and I think with you guys, I mean, that's just going to allow you. I would think, Travis, the success that you've had, you know, in the last couple of years, taking this to a level you never thought in a million years you were going to ever do, has got to be one thing, being able to handle more. Now, prices going up hasn't hurt any of you, right, on the parts. That's helped. But it's got to be technology has to be something, Travis, to allow you to take more.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's just it. All right, we got about 5 minutes and we can end when we want. I wanted to ask you what I'll reverse the order. I'll go Travis again first. What's the thing you think you're not that good at that you're working on? Is there something you got, like, I don't do this that well and I'm trying to get better at this?
I'm not real chatty.
No way.
I get right to the point. I think I could be better at it, get a little bit more information.
A little more
customers.
personal, just a
Yep.
little, hey, how's your kids, or that kind of stuff when a downtime. Okay.
Yep.
Craig, what about you?
I would
I
say
know
it'd
it's
be
not
the
chatty.
opposite of that. Yeah, probably the opposite of it.
Okay.
And we've, through coaching, have gotten better, but I'm a little long-winded sometimes. So that's what I've been working on.
But when you're long,
try to do it politely.
results in a $1,100 warranty on top of a $3,000 engine, I'll
Then
take it.
that's good time. Yeah, that's
I'll
time
take
well
it.
spent. Right.
Pat, what about you?
I'm working on not leaving as much meat on the bone, broker profit. A lot of times I find myself trying to give the customer the best deal they can when in fact I'm giving them too good a deal.
Right. And that comes from how you started. You told the story at the beginning. I don't say no. So it's the best thing that happened to you and also the thing that hurts you now at the
Correct.
same time. But to me, you three have recognized it, and it just shows anybody that's out there that's going to watch this that might only be doing $75,000 a month. Here's the big boys telling you they're still working on things. Steve, what about you?
Main thing I'm trying to work on right now is being consistent with tracking my orders, making sure I'm following through on some of these 4-day, 5-day, 6-day, 7-day, 8-day gets,
I
and
mean,
making
there's
sure the customer
transit
knows
delays in your system.
just a little. But just trying to make sure the customer knows what's going on, keeping them up to date. That solves almost every problem you ever have for me anyhow. And just being more consistent, but you're just following through and making sure they know exactly what's going on with the car.
Yeah. I'll say for some of the guys, including myself, right? And in my day, I was a big boy, but I wasn't anywhere near the league you guys are in. Organizational and time management was a killer for me. I was not that organized. I didn't dot a lot of I's across a lot of T's. It's what made me good, but it also was a bit of a downfall for me. And Scott, how about you? What are you working on?
I would say about the same thing. I have a hard time when issues pop up and I'm writing them down and I got 3 phone calls going on, and then I forget about it. And customer calls the next day and says, "Hey, what'd you find out about this?" And I'm a total bunk.
You just fess up and say, I forgot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, man, I got hammered. I'll look into it right now, whatever, but trying to get better at that. But I'm just having a hard time.
Honesty is the best policy then. If
yeah.
you're my salesperson and you just say, hey, I dropped the ball, I have a lot more, belief in you for telling me, and again, I know this for fact. I know none of you are blaming the parts puller or the driver or the vendors or that kind of stuff. You don't have the customer bases you have blaming other people. Right? You've got the customers you have by taking it right here on the chin when there's a problem. Right? I sold you the part, my problem. All the other parts of the chain that dropped the ball, that's on me. I'll tell you what I think is something else that all of the big boys that I deal with, and I have guys your size and still in some of my groups. I think the hard thing is when you get this to this level and you work a 400 or an 8-hour day or whatever you put on that, but an 8-hour day is 480 minutes. And how valuable are your minutes? And I think a hard thing when you get to the level, there's little guys, let's say you, Travis, that help you get to where you are. But now that little guy just isn't worth your minutes anymore because he's a one-bay mom and pop dude and your time would be better spent somewhere else. Is how do I get rid of that guy and give him to someone else that works there that has the time to help him? That's a hard one. He helped you get where you're at, right? He's been with you the whole time, but he's not, the return on the investment for my minutes isn't there. This guy with 15 bays and 6 writers is. That's hard. I appreciate all your time today, guys. I hope this really helps some of the people that I show this to. I'm gonna probably drop it on our YouTube page, and kind of say, I was thinking this morning, I thought this whole thing up this morning while I wasn't sleeping, Platinum Club Unplugged or something, right? Just kind of getting you guys talking, right, about how you did it. And you should be proud of what you've done, and you've built great careers. I say this all the time, Craig. You said that something about college, but I'm not thinking a lot of us have 4-year degrees, right? Travis came from prison, apparently, in a work release program to get into this. But, there's not a lot of master's degrees, or MBAs going on here. But we got some very successful guys that I paid a lot of bills and kids through college and houses and a lot of things. And I'm proud to be in this industry, and made a really good living at it. I bet you guys all make more money than 95% of your friends working at the junkyard. You can laugh at them at the next family picnic. So, all right, guys, I appreciate it. Have a great time. I'll see you guys next week. I thank everybody for watching it. Remember, Knox, Scott and Steve and Pat at United and Craig at Mullins and Travis at APS. These are guys you need parts. I'm going to give you guys a little plug, right? These are guys that are out there. And if you are looking to deal with somebody, right, these are the pros at those places that'll help take care of you. So I appreciate everyone. Have a great day. Thank you guys again. I'll see you next month.
Thanks, Rob.
Take care.
You.